I was sitting stinking like a good dog, drinking in the lap of my farmer after all day working. Sedated, I'll work all day today.
Well, good morning, Lionhearts. Your old pal Jordan the Lion. I'm up early. It's like 6 a.m. Showered, got my hair all slicked back. Luckily, it's not going to look like this all day. When it dries, it'll be back to looking human again. And I'm off to work. I looked up where I'm working today, and I'm actually really close to a cemetery that has a ton of people there that I'd love to vlog. So it's very possible if I get out in time, I may go over there and vlog something in that cemetery. But then again, I may change my mind, because if I get out early enough, there's something else I've wanted to vlog for a while that I'm going to go do. I just feel like I've been in the cemeteries too much lately, so we'll see what happens. Either way, I can pretty much guarantee you a pretty good vlog today. And then after that, when I finally get done with everything, I'm going to go over probably to the Grove tonight and meet up with some friends. And there's some old bands from when I was young. I think like Gin Blossoms and Sixpence None the Richer. I don't know who all's going to be there, but it's like a free show, and I'll probably end up going up and meeting up with my friends over there. So, Daze with Jordan the Lion. It's going to be an interesting one. Begins now. You can see the skyscrapers of the city straight ahead.
You know, just do the reverse casting and then get people in there. Yeah. But I'm thinking if that's the case, then I probably.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, it's been a long day, guys. I'm sorry you haven't got to see a whole lot of a vlog because I've been working all day. And I don't know if I'm going to get out in time to go do the cemetery vlog like I wanted to. The cemetery closes at 5:30, and I think I'm going to get done about 5:30 or 6. So as soon as I do get done, I'm going to rush out and I'm going to go do the other vlog idea I had. And if I can't do that for some reason, I have one that I recorded a few days ago sitting in the can that I'll give you. But I wanted to send a big shout out thank you to the 2 new donors that I had today. Donald Sloan and Angela West. I appreciate your donations. It's going to go straight to Sweden. And actually I have an announcement about Sweden at the end of this vlog, so stay tuned. I've never been much of a car guy, but I do think that Rolls-Royce look pretty awesome. And when I saw this one, I had to stop and take a look at it because it kind of reminds me of the ones that Janis Joplin and John Lennon had back in the 60s. Remember seeing them at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I love that style. Total psyched out. Well, here we are today, gang. We're starting here at the Santa Palm Car Wash. I'm gonna take you back to 1969. And basically what happened here was a whole change in the music scene. 3 of the most well-known, popular bands of the day, a member from each band came together and they formed a whole new band with a whole new sound. A band that was based around acoustic music, some percussion, but for the most part, they would become known as one of the most influential bands of the late 60s to change the era. They changed it all to almost soft listening, along with the band and the Eagles and people like that. 3 men, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, came together to combine all of their various talents to create something special. Now, Graham Nash's talents were that Graham had a sensibility for some of the most amazing pop hooks that you could come up with. David Crosby's talents were that he really had his ear to the ground for the social scene and the social commentary of that time. So the lyrics were really where David Crosby shined. But Stephen Stills, he could do it all. He was a great singer, a great songwriter, a great melodian, and he would go on to call this album his baby. He pretty much played everything on it. He played the organ, he played the bass. Graham Nash played a little bit of guitar and did some vocals. And David Crosby did, I think he said, maybe 1 or 2 rhythm tracks. But the reason that I'm here at the car wash is because one day in '69, the band was driving around with photographer Henry Diltz, the same man who did the Morrison Hotel album cover. And they were coming back from the Orange Julius that I believe they're saying was right here. They were driving by and they saw an abandoned house off to the side of the road. And the abandoned house, they said, reminded them of kind of like somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like a real home country feel. And we're gonna go see where that was now. Now it's a parking lot, but right inside here, at one point, pretty much right where this car is, right about here, was where the house was that the band took their very first album cover photo, the cover of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Now, one of the crazy things that happened that day was basically they pulled over, hopped out, ran up on the front of the porch, sat down and took pictures because it was an abandoned house. And what they found out later was that it was a kind of like a house for railroad workers in the neighborhood. They sat down, took the photos, but they didn't have a band name at that time. So when you looked at the band photo, the group photo on the cover, it was actually Graham Nash, Stephen Stills, and then David Crosby sitting at the far end. The band took the photos, took off, and then 2 or 3 days later they came up with what was going to become the name of the band, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So they said, well, we don't want people to be confused as to who's who. We don't want people to think that Graham is David and that David is Graham. So they came back here to replicate the photo and redo it, and the house had been demolished. It was literally a pile of boards and rubble sitting right here on the ground. Well, before this parking lot was here, obviously, but they came back and realized they couldn't retake the cover, but they loved the cover that they took, so they just rolled with it, and they just went ahead. And it would have been even more fascinating, I think, if they would have said, you know what, why don't we change the name to Nash, Stills, and Crosby in that case, which is weird to me anyway, because normally don't you do it in alphabetical? Wouldn't it normally be like Crosby, Nash, and Stills? I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but that's just because we've been accustomed to hearing it the way it is. But basically right here is where the house would have been. And I found an interview of Graham Nash actually talking about this story, and he said even in those days that car wash was here. He said that they found this house right over by the old Santa Monica, now I think it's, maybe he changed his name to Santa Palm, maybe it was Santa Palm then, but it's on Santa Monica. So he said they were driving by here, leaving the Orange Julius, saw this house, and just had to have it for an album cover. Henry Diltz, the man who, like I said, he did the Morrison Hotel, but he was really sought after in those days for doing band's first album covers or establishing a band's look, for setting the tone and the mood to that record. So this was another one of the Henry Diltz classics. The first Crosby, Stills, and Nash album featured the hit song that probably all of us have heard many times in our life, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, and that would pretty much establish what the band's sound would be for the next couple of years. Well guys, I just got home. I went straight from work to do that vlog, and now I'm home and I got a mail day. One of my earliest friends and viewers of this show sent me a new backpack because I mentioned I was going to get one. How cool is that? Perfect for what I needed. And they also sent Jaw a toy. And then, in other anticipation, my razors came in the mail that I ordered. I got a paycheck, and I didn't tell you guys I did this. So I showed you the cufflinks I'm going to wear to Michael's wedding, but I thought, you know what? Why not get something special? Maybe I'll decide to wear these. I got some, see if we can get this to focus. They're giant lion heads with a big ruby in the mouth. Got them pretty cheap. I might wear those for the wedding instead. I don't know. Weigh in on it if you want. Well, good evening, Lionhearts. This was the closest I've probably ever come to not doing a vlog. I honestly never thought I was going to get done. What this was like a full day conference at a school that we were catering like 3 meals of. And I wasn't really aware of that. They never really told me an out time, and it just kept going and going and going. So I'm glad that I was able to squeeze that vlog in while the sun was still up, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, I love that album. I remember listening to the Woodstock soundtrack when I was like in high school. I wrote a term paper on the influence of 60s music on the times and pop culture related to my time. And so I covered all that stuff, and that's another reason I know all about this like 60s stuff. I had to write a 30-page term paper my junior year. And so Crosby, Stills, and Nash, I remember like that was one night when I was writing the paper, I would just like flood myself with like the Forrest Gump soundtrack, and I got Bob Dylan's, what was it? I think Blonde on Blonde was one that I was listening to then. And even though it wasn't from that time period, Nashville Skyline, and then like the Greatest Hits Volume 2, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So I love that music, and when I found out that that's where that house was, and I had a friend that used to live on that street, I was like, I really want to do that, and forgot about it for a while, and then it like got in my craw this past week, and I was like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and then when the cemetery was closed, done deal. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So here's what my announcement for Sweden. I have booked 2 tours throughout my stay there. I'm not going to tell you where my tours are, but they're going to be pretty interesting. And I was telling Adam about like some of the stuff that I'm going to see, and he goes, "Oh, dude, you can get a lot of vlogs out of that." And I was like, you know what? That's true. I do a daily vlog, but I know for sure I'm going to have so much extra footage, because even around here when I just cover one thing, I have like 20 minutes of footage usually that I end up having to pare down, or sometimes 40 minutes that I pare down to 20. And so I figured, why ditch some of that footage and not let you guys see it when I can make my normal daily vlog, and then I can keep all that extra footage, and when I have days like this where I have to work or something, you guys will get a Sweden vlog, or you'll get a vlog from Denmark or Germany or wherever it was that I was that day. And I'll just pepper them in randomly, and it'll be like a throwback that you've never seen. And nobody says that the daily vlog has to be that day. As long as I give you something to learn from every day, I feel like I'm doing my job. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to figure out a way to catalog all this footage so that I don't reuse stuff, and there's a whole like chunk of footage I'm only using for Michael's video and what I make for them. So it's going to be weird, and it's going to be really chaotic, and I bet somehow something gets screwed up, but that'll be part of the fun in it too, I guess, is getting myself out of it. So that was just my big announcement. I have some pretty big tours that I'm going to be going on, and I'm going to be filming a lot of stuff while I'm on those tours, and I'll have tons and tons of footage, and hopefully even when I get back after 2 weeks of being in Europe, I'll be able to pepper in like 7 or 10 vlogs later on, maybe even throughout the year. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Have a great night, Lionhearts. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
The day I stopped smoking, binge drinking, and backslap joking out.